welcome back everyone to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Kevin Hord here.
Lorenzo Phan over here.
Good evening, Lorenzo.
How's it going, man?
It's going well, man. We are here today to talk about the 47th episode / story of the Clone Wars, titled R2 Come Home.
Yep.
Do you have a release date on this one?
Yes, I do. Another split release date for this one. This released in the U.S. on April 30th, 2010. UK got it a few days prior, April 24th, 2010.
So why do you think they do that?
I think there might have just been different things happening in just the television landscape for the two different regions, possibly, you know? I don't know. I don't know if, like, a certain date is competing with like Doctor Who or something, right?
Okay.
So
I guess that makes sense.
That's all I got on that one.
I never really thought about it that way. Like, maybe there was a real important like re-release of a MacGyver episode in the United States, so they just had to back off a day or so.
Right.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
So what do we got going on this episode, sir? What's our fortune cookie?
Fortune cookie. Adversity is a friendship's truest test. And for this one, I associate this to one Mr. Jar Jar Binks.
I guess. Yeah.
It's not really in the form of the way
Of
that Jar Jar would say
yeah.
it, but I feel like I was trying to think of like who's the I was trying to think of like who the friendliest character in the Star Wars universe is, and Jar Jar is the one that I came back to specifically because of the beginning of Attack of the Clones when Obi and Annie go up to Padme's apartment and Jar Jar is just like so excited to see them.
Okay.
My second option was Mace Windu. And these are like two opposite ends of the flagpole.
Right. Like, the thing is, I just don't know if Jar Jar would like speak of adversity in this way. You know what I mean? But it makes sense. I get where you're coming from with that one. I between those two choices, I would actually lean more towards Jar Jar. I didn't.
Yeah, I think he would say really something more like, "Oh, when it's a hard being friends, this is a hard."
Right.
You know. So.
Yeah, like this one I couldn't pin down myself. So. Jar Jar makes sense.
This is like somebody quoting something that Jar Jar said to them, but like putting it in language that other people understand.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, so we can just go in Jar Jar. Move on.
Cool. So, newsreel, we just have a recap of Death Trap, and that's basically boiled down to revenge. That's the first word of the newsreel. Revenge. Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Things happen in Death Trap. Here we are. We pick up immediately after the last episode, and we got a Corvette cruiser picking up the escape pods / survivors from Death Trap, right?
Yep.
Mace and Anakin are heading planet side to see what happened to this good guy Star Destroyer and our bald companions Killian and Pons. I don't think Pons was named last episode, but he's the guy that was kind of in charge of the clone cadets, right? Is that the guy I'm thinking of? Or is it somebody else?
You know, I don't remember if that was Pons or not. I don't remember which one that was.
Yeah.
Killian was definitely the admiral in charge on the bridge.
And I think Pons was... I don't know. That's who I assumed it was when Mace is like, oh yeah, we're going to go look for Killian's and Pons. Like, that's who I thought it was. So... anyway, they head planetside. They find wreckage. Anakin comments that the bridge is still intact. They circle around land, get out. Mace makes a point of saying, like, land on the far side and we'll walk from there, which I thought was interesting. From one side, the Star Destroyer doesn't look too badly damaged. On the other side, it's, like, tore the fuck up, and there's, like, beams and shit curled all over the place, looking like Ground Zero from 9/11. Not good, shall we say. R2 comments that he's got a bad feeling about this. So R2 and Anakin kind of have dialogue back and forth throughout this episode, which I thought was nice.
Right. Because Mace Windu comments on it, you know. Yeah, he talks about how he finds it interesting the way Skywalker and R2 have a more humanistic relationship, and that R2 has like feelings, and Windu asks if he's programmed to feel. Skywalker makes the comment that R2's special in his own way.
Yeah. And Mace's response is that you encourage the droid too much, which I thought was kind of odd. Like, when you encourage your refrigerator to successfully communicate with you about how many frozen burritos you got. I don't know. Like something, if you could. Yeah. Mace's droid is an R8. Looks the same as an R2. This was the droid of indeterminate color that I called it, because I couldn't quite figure out. It's almost like a lilac-y color. It's almost like purple and yellow, but lighting is low in much of this episode, so it's hard to see. So I didn't know if this was supposed to be like an homage, like, you know, the guy with the purple lightsaber has a purple droid also, and it's Mace Windu, and he's better than everybody else, so that's why he has an R8 instead of an R3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever. Come to think of it, I don't even think that we've heard of an R7. R6 maybe. Jumping straight to R8, and so suppose maybe this is trying to indicate that Mace's droid is better than R2, but that may or may not be revealed in this episode. We will find out. We are on Vancor, which we've been to before, and the distinguishing feature of Vancor is that this is where Gundarks are from. So, as R8 is supposed to be scanning for signs of life and calculating an entry point into this good guy Star Destroyer, we do see some Gundarks. What happens next?
So they come across some clone troopers that were killed.
They do make it inside. R2
but they weren't killed by the crash, and they were executed.
Yes, executed.
So, yeah, Mace they find a few of them, and Anakin spots another, and he's like, "Yeah, like this one's been executed too. Same thing."
Mace suggests that this is because he was the intended target, right? So whoever tried to kill him probably came back to find his body, is what he says. So, at that point, he assumes that they were looking for Mace and killed everybody else. Is this what happened?
I don't know. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, this part, we never get back to this point, do we?
Yes and no.
Yeah, let's move on, because we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to this. I just thought of this now, but I'm not so sure this is what happened.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but we'll move forward.
There's a weird like side note here where Anakin is talking to R2, and he's like, basically, "Hey, yeah, buddy, I know there's a lot of interference, but do your best." And I think this is like this is supposed to be going along with that R2 R8 thing, where like R8 seems to be like being badass, and R2 is like, "Oh, like there's interference, like I'm an old droid, I'm trying."
See, I didn't get that at all. Like, I just thought I saw this as a continuation of just Anakin talking to R2, right? Because there wasn't anything regarding the R8 that I saw as like R2 getting jealous per se.
Yeah, I feel like just in the naming of the droids, it's like set up as a competition, but it doesn't go anywhere.
See, I never I didn't read into that at all, right?
Okay.
Like, I honestly don't remember hearing R8 in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if it was mentioned, I completely missed it. So if there was like some subtext about R8 trying to be a better droid.
Well, there is like a non-dialogue scene where it's like R2 and R8 next to each other, and they like both pop up their antennas at the same time. They're both like scanning, and I don't know if there's any like head movement where like R8's like looking at him like, you know.
See, again, I saw none of that. I just saw two droids who were just trying to do their jobs.
Yeah.
So that's all I got out of that one.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Could be overthinking this one. It happens sometimes, but I
saw none of that whatsoever.
I'll just say it one more time. Like, I do feel like there was an intended like subtext of like a competition between these two droids, and that if that is true, it failed. And
see, I wouldn't call it a competition. What I got is, so if the actual dialogue we get is Mace saying that Anakin encourages his droid too much, right?
Uh-huh.
Everything else, I think, is in service of that, where Anakin treats R2 as a pet sort of thing,
okay,
whereas Mace treats R8 as just a droid doing its job, right?
Okay.
But Anakin sees R2 as a friend. So then that, if there's any sort of like tension between the two droids, it's just over the idea that R2 has a personality per se.
Okay.
Not that R2 is worse or better, just that he has a personality.
Just like different.
Yeah, he has a defined personality.
Okay. I can go with that. That's cool. Mm-hmm. They make their way up to the bridge, and they find more dead troopers / officers. Anakin comments that the two dudes that they're looking for aren't there. Killian's gone. The navigational crew is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And Mace says they must have been sucked out of the viewport when, you know, I don't know, when the fucking window broke or whatever.
Right.
Vacuum of
Just
space
whenever
sucked them out.
Shit happened when it went down, yeah.
I don't know why the vacuum of space would be selective and leave some of these troopers inside and remove others. Not really sure on that one, Mace.
Got nothing for you there.
You'll have to explain that one to me later, Mr. Windu. But maybe Windu knows about windows. I'm not really sure. Mace comms back to the Corvette that's in orbit. He talks to a Captain Silver and tells him to take all of the wounded, everybody that, you know, take everybody that you collected from the escape pods back to hospital base place. Get out of here and we'll catch up to you. Captain Silver says, like, he acknowledges orders, whatever, and then ends transmission. He's like, all right, boys, we're going home. And they hop into hyperspace. I thought the term home was a bit interesting. I don't know if he's like from the medical base, like that's where he's stationed or what, but they're not going back to Camino or you know, some such other thing. Not really sure. At this point, R2 and R8 literally run into each other. They both back into each other, right? From like off screen, stage right, stage left, back into each other, and then they're surprised. I don't know. Whatever. It's a setup for this Gundark attack, right?
Yes.
And R8 literally loses his head, ripped off by a Gundark, and it's thrown over near R2-D2, and then R2 is trying to hide / evade these Gundarks. We're back up on the bridge. Anakin sees Jango Fett's helmet. He slowly walks over there and he's like, oh, what is this Mandalorian helmet doing here? What is going on? And Mace puts 2 and 2 together in a somewhat clever fashion where he's like, clone cadets, clones are dead, Jango Fett's helmet, Boba Fett, and Anakin picks the helmet up. You see some sort of blinky device on the inside. Mace is like, Anakin, no! And then pulls him with the Force, which was, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a very large explosion on the inside, and then we cut to the outside, and there's like a series of explosions, like much farther away from the bridge than where the helmet was. So this must have triggered other things.
Right.
So, Boba Fett put this here, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So then presumably he would have been inside the ship, correct?
Yeah.
So he could have killed all of these troopers and whatnot along the way. Potentially.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. But currently he's not in the ship.
No.
He's over, across valley on a fucking ridge watching with some binoculars.
Yep.
Or whatever you want to call them. My note says Boba watches from afar with Bosk, Aura, and this other dude whose name...
Costas.
Bob Costas?
Basically, yeah.
Evil Bob Costas. Yeah. So they're all the way back at Slave 1 watching. They get into an argument over the reward for... So they took 3 hostages. It's the 2 dudes that Anakin and Mace are looking for. And then just like another guy, right? Another random clone officer. Unnamed. So they are talking about whether or not essentially this mission is going to be profitable, because it's set up that Boba wanted to kill Mace.
Yeah.
And then through this dialogue over the next minute or so, it seems like that's not 100% the case, because Dooku's name gets brought up, and Aura's like, yeah, we're going to take our hostages back to Dooku. They're worth a lot to him. And Castus is like, yeah, worth a lot, but not worth enough. And then Boba brings up the fact that, hey, Mace Windu's dead. If we collect his head and take it to Dooku, then he's going to pay us a shit ton of money for killing Mace.
Jedi, yeah.
Is it just the fact that it's a dead Jedi?
I think both, that it's a dead Jedi and that it's Mace.
Because, I mean, it's definitely set up in Death Trap last episode that, and in the newsreel of this one, right? It's revenge. That's what's going on. Boba Fett wants revenge. And then as they're talking about that, like the profitability of this particular mission that they're on, it turns into like, well, Dooku wants it done. He's the one paying for all of this. So it seems like less revenge and more.
No, well, it's because Costas doesn't want to even bother going to the ship. Costas is just like, oh, yep, they're dead. We're good. We don't have to check on this. And Boba wants to check. He wants to know that Windu is dead.
Right. Okay.
Boba wants to know that he is dead. But Costas is like, no, what? No, they're dead. Like, we can move on. So then Boba, in trying to convince Costas, is like, hey, there are other reasons for this. Like, there's profitability reasons.
Okay. So Aura sides with Boba, especially after Boba's like, is it Boba or Aura that brings up, like, if Anakin's dead, then we get twice as much?
I don't remember which one brings that up.
I think that might be Aura, and then Castus is like, okay, well, I'm along for the ride then. More money equals better, essentially.
Right. Because these are bounty hunters at the end of the day, Like,
Bosk is tasked with staying behind and taking care of their, air quotes, guests, which are their 3 hostages. We cut back to R2. After this big explosion, R2 knows something's up. Plus, his buddy R8 is long dead and gone. So R2's on the search for Anakin. He finds them. He finds Anakin and Mace on the bridge, stuck under a bunch of shit. He tries to, I guess, like, free Anakin out by shifting some debris or something, and that ends up being not a good idea.
Right.
So Anakin has, like, this soliloquy talking to R2 about going for help and get back to the ship and contact the Jedi Council and help me, R2-D2, you're my only hope, essentially. And then dramatically passes out. So R2 flies off and then happens to be, like, looking out the window and sees what I initially called the bad crew, but then I noticed that in the description of this episode, it's called Boba's Band of something or other, so I'm going to call him Boba's Band from here on out.
All right.
So Boba's Band is approaching. They stop outside the good guy Star Destroyer. Boba is in a super rush to get inside. He almost gets squished by some shit falling off the ceiling or something. As they are working their way through the ship, R2 uses his little devices that stick out of his chest cavity and shifts what looks like this giant fucking metal wall. And my note was like, man, he is one strong dude, right? Castus is pissed because the ship is, like, falling apart around them, often because R2 is, like, throwing things at them or knocking debris around to try to stifle their progress. But he says, man, this place is a death trap. And I couldn't help but notice, and it bugged me, that, like, when it happens in a movie, I know that people are like, hey, they said the title of the movie, but this is like, hey, you said the title of the last episode.
Yeah. It was, I agree with you there. It was weird to bring that up in this episode and not the previous one.
It gets even weirder later.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. Cassus is like, hey, look at this. This is a continuation of the last episode called Death Trap. Because we're in a death trap. They get, I guess, up to the top of wherever they're going, and R2-D2, like, locks a door, and Boba's like, man, the door must have malfunctioned because now it's locked. So,
it was just weird.
I have an issue with this episode about which way is down.
Yeah.
And it's not really clear, because sometimes it looks like they're just, like, walking down a hallway, and sometimes they are, like, climbing vertically, but usually it's at, like, a 33-ish degree angle, so you can't tell exactly what's going on. It totally makes sense for R2-D2 because he's got, like, magnetic feet or whatever, and he can just roll around on fucking everything. But visually, things don't line up the way that they should.
I think what that was trying to convey, and I agree, it's really confusing visually because you don't get a frame of reference. But I think, like, parts of the ship are broken off and they aren't, like, fully connected. So think of it like when the Titanic broke into two pieces. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing I could think of as they're kind of trying to walk up a hallway and, like, literally from the camera vantage point, like, screen up to the top of the screen, you know?
I understand what you're saying, but I don't agree, because a lot of this seems to take place on, like they get in, like, everything's flat when they're on the ground, and then they get inside and they're going up somewhat of an incline, and then when things get real deep, right, they're essentially climbing up like a turbo lift, but it's at, like, the same angle, you know? It's just, this could be much more dynamic where they're almost ascending, like, a metal mountain is what they're doing. And I think there's one scene where you see the floor pitched at, like, more than a 45 degree angle, and it looks like treacherous terrain. Other than that, it looks like they're just walking through, like, an abandoned warehouse with a bunch of fucking shit around them.
Basically, you know.
So, like I said, that's one thing that bugged me. We'll move beyond that. It could have been done a lot better. Like R2D2's throwing all this shit at him and stuff, and it just doesn't necessarily line up with the way that it looks like gravity should work. Like, dude,
I think part of it is
him
that
on an angle. I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of it too is that just the pacing here is broken up in a weird way where something will happen to our bounty band and
Boba's band
to Boba's band, and then we kind of jump forward, but we don't know what happened in between.
Yeah, it's not really like an A plot. There's not like an A plot, B plot. It's all like everything's directed toward the same thing, right?
Yeah. But there's just little time jumps that are enough of a jump to be confusing.
We are jumping back and forth between Band A, Band B. So it's basically Boba's band and then like Anakin and Mace laying on the floor. And we're cutting back and forth between these two. So R2D2 locks the door so that they can't get through. Then we cut back to the bridge. Mace Windu wakes up. Did you notice what? So Mace wakes up. Did you see what happens here? I found this important. He wakes up and he is on his stomach, and then he rolls around to his back. So if he has enough room to fucking roll around,
I was wondering about that too. Yeah, I did not. Yeah, that detail absolutely killed me. Like,
he could just crawl out from this. So then he wakes up Anakin, and he's like, "Yo, Anakin, like we trapped and shit." Like,
but he just rolled around. I'm like, dude, you can crawl out of this.
You just rolled over. You just woke me up, and then Anakin's like, "Yeah, I know. Can you get out?" And what does Mace Windu do? Is he reaches up to like the highest point in this room or whatever, and picks up some big ass piece of debris and like throws it out of the way, and then like other shit moves around, and Anakin's like, "No, don't do that. Like, I already tried that. You're gonna get us fucking dead, man. You're gonna crush us." And like, no, dude, they could both like use the Force a little bit, like right above them,
and just push
a little bit of shit up, and then scoot out,
get out of there,
and they're good. These guys aren't actually trapped. They're just lazy or dumb. I don't know which.
I didn't understand that point either of why they didn't use the Force to just kind of just an inch or two so they aren't pinned down.
I mean, Mace Windu is not pinned down. I think he just wants to take a nap.
Right.
Or lecture Anakin or something. Anakin, I'm not sure if he's pinned down either. Like, maybe his feet are caught, but maybe. I don't
he's
know.
not spinning around at the very least.
He is definitely not rolling over.
Right.
Mace Windu would be rolling over in his grave. Or not, because he's not dead.
Because he's not dead. I'm like, what are you talking about? Carry on.
So we cut back to Boba's band, and they are climbing up a turbo lift tube. R2D2 responds to this by pushing some boxes on them, and I really wish these are like the Clone Wars boxes that we have seen in like every single episode, because that would have made me super happy. Like, we always see these fucking clone troopers carrying around these goddamn boxes to like make things happen in the background or whatever, but nope, these are different boxes. And if they were the same boxes, I would have jumped up in the theater if this was playing, and I would have been like, yes, these boxes actually have some fucking purpose, like, other than dudes just carrying them around all the time. But nope, they're different.
But we still wouldn't get a purpose for them here, because R2 just pushes them down. So we just don't know what the boxes are for still. Like,
that's what it would be. Like, it's one of those things where it's like from Signs, where, you know, there has to be like glasses of water all over the place. And
swing away, Meryl, swing away,
yeah. And you just gotta like break fucking glasses all over your house. It's gonna be a huge pain in the ass to clean up, but That's how you defend your family from some alien demon thing. But, yeah, so R2 drops some boxes, and that slows them down a little bit, but not too much. Castus wants to give up at this point. Boba's like, no, we're so close, like, we're gonna do it. R2-D2 rolls over to a dead trooper, and at this point, the first time I watched it, I was like, holy shit, he's gonna, like, pick up this dead body and like throw it down on these people.
Oh, that's what I was hoping he was going to do as well. But nope.
He doesn't.
No.
But he does something almost equally as cool, where all clone troopers have like these detonator packs on their back. It's like the little toilet paper roll size thing that you see on the small of the back of a clone trooper or a stormtrooper, and it's like a thermal detonator holder,
right,
type deal. So R2 picks this thing up and just tosses it down, tries to murder all three of these people, which is fucking amazing.
Yep.
So the bomb goes off. It doesn't actually kill anybody, which is kind of sad. Castus basically is like, fuck this, I'm done. Like, we can't even get up to wherever we're going, which, do they even know where they're going, or they're just like wandering around?
I think they know they're trying to make their way to the bridge. I think
because the explosion was in the bridge.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. So Castus is like, fuck this. Aura agrees with him now.
Mm-hmm.
So they start to leave, ? I don't really know. Aura's like, I got an idea, and this is totally just a shot to like show that she has this antenna thing that fucking extends out of her head.
Right.
She has like a radio built into her head. I don't really know.
I don't know either. It was a weird
Don't take
thing.
that as fact, all of you Aura Singh fans out there, because I am an Aura Singh fan as well, and I didn't take the time to figure out what this antenna thing is. I remember in the old EU, she had like a computer built into her brain, but I don't know what the new canon is on it.
It's not really explained here. It's just like a interesting little visual cue that they throw in.
Yeah, so she uses that to call Bosk, and the plan is that they're just going to leave, go back to Slave 1, and then use Slave 1 to blow up the rest of this good guy Star Destroyer, which seems like that should take them at least all day, if not a couple of days.
Right, with just the Slave 1.
It's a big fucking thing. Bosk speaks Basic.
Mm-hmm.
This surprised me.
It did to me, too. But he speaks it with like a little bit of parcel tongue at the end of every other sentence.
A little bit, but I was like, he's like reptile guy from Trandosha. He should like speak something else.
Nope. Full Lizard Basic,
language,
baby.
Man.
Nope. Full Basic.
Yep. So there's that. We cut back to Anakin. He's all restless. Mace Windu is questioning his faith in R2. So, since I was so stuck on Mace Windu rolling around and actually being able to get out from this debris, I forgot to bring up the fact that... Wait. No, we didn't get there yet, right? R2 hasn't made his way up there?
About.
Yep. It's what happens next. I thought it happened earlier. My mistake.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Anakin's all restless. Mace Windu is questioning Anakin about his faith in R2 and what makes R2 special or whatever. R2 thinks that he has... No? Okay.
Okay,
time
so
out.
here, nope.
Yep.
Here.
Time out here.
I got... Go. What?
What I was going to say is that the detail that we missed is that R2 had already made his way up to the bridge, talked to Anakin. Anakin sends him on the way, right? We talked about that.
Yeah.
So Mace and Anakin are talking about whether, whatever about R2, because Anakin has filled Mace in, like, no, we're going to be all right. Even though you can roll around over there and you could get out if you wanted to, but you're not for some reason, I sent R2 back to the ship. He's going to call the Jedi Council, yada, yada, yada. We're getting help. I sent R2 on his way. So R2 is heading to the ship, gets attacked by Gundarks at this point. He tries to the old squirt the oil at the enemy trick, which does nothing. Pops his tools out in like a Dukes Up fashion. That obviously does nothing. To get away from this Gundark, he shoots a suction cup into its forehead. Mm-hmm. And then he shoots another suction cup into Mace Windu, or Anakin's ship, I guess, and then remotely like tells that ship to take off, and then pulls the Gundark off with him, right? Aura Singh sees a commotion or something. She tells Boss to jam the transmissions from the entire planet, which I guess the Slave One is a super powerful ship, so more power to him. R2 gets into the other ship, which would have been Mace Windu's, takes off. They identify it. They're in pursuit. They being Boba's band and the Slave One are in pursuit of R2 in Mace's Jedi Starfighter. We have to cut back to Anakin and Mace for a little bit just to banter some bullshit that probably is meaningless to the episode in general. We go back to R2. We've got a chase scene here. Boba at this point... sorry. Lost my spot there for a second. Boba at this point is at the controls of the guns, so he is firing upon R2-D2. He hits the ship and luckily only hits like the communications, right? So take out the communications of R2, like R2's off planet, so his transmissions aren't air quote jammed anymore, but now Boba shot out his communication,
so he still can't call back to the temple anyways.
Or something. So R2 is headed for the hyperspace rings, and Boba is sent with the task of taking the hyperspace rings out. I don't know if it's Bosk or Castus that says we can't get in range, we can't hit both of them. So Boba's like, oh, which one do I shoot? He picks one. R2's got some pretty smooth maneuvers and just docks up with the other one, takes off, heads back to the Jedi Temple. What happens? Castus.
So then we get back to Coruscant, basically, and R2-D2 rolls through the Jedi Temple, interrupts a meeting with Plo Koon, talking to Ahsoka and like a bunch of other Jedi via hologram.
Yeah, there's some type of debriefing going on. We're not...
Right. R2 freaks out and starts like fighting another droid for the port to try and relay a message, and Ahsoka kind of freaks out and is like, wait, what? Yeah, just tell us what you got to tell us. And then plays a recording of Anakin asking R2 to send the message to the Jedi Temple.
Yeah, it's Plo that... Plo says, why don't you play the message that you so desperately want to show us, apparently.
Right. So then, so he does, and then that's when Plo Koon is like, yeah, like, let's go help Anakin, everybody. This is our new mission. And they make their way to Vancor. They show up. They got a bunch of the airdrop, the drop ships, right?
So before they get there, we cut back to Mace and Anakin, and Mace uses the Force to pull over the remnants of Jango Fett's helmet. So it's like 57% of the helmet is still intact, but the bomb that was in it blew up 95%. Yeah. So Jango has some killer fucking armor that Boba should have probably kept. But
does he though? I mean, he got decapitated with that thing on, so
Yeah, because I think we already talked about this. It was under.
He
it
got
was
the
like
soft.
chin level.
Yeah, he got the soft part. Yeah.
Yeah.
He went through the soft part of the neck.
There's
and that's fine.
There's
that's
no
fine.
neck armor, apparently. But yeah, Mace explains who Jango Fett is because Anakin asks like whose helmet was that, whatever. Mace explains who Jango Fett was, who Boba Fett is, why Boba Fett's probably pissed, and the way that he explains it sounds like he hunted down Jango and fucking murdered him in front of his kid. Right. He's like, yeah, Jango's this bounty hunter that I killed on Geonosis, and Boba's his kid, and he watched me do it. I'm like,
but how did he know? At no point would he really know this. I don't think. This isn't information that Mace would have, like including the fact that Boba exists.
Right? I think doesn't
Obi-Wan
Anakin say something about Anakin included? Did Anakin include Boba Fett in his report of Geonosis also?
Oh, that's right. I think they say Obi-Wan put it in the report. So I think that's the only way Mace
would know about Boba. But
that's
as
right.
to how he knows that Boba watched him kill his dad,
right?
I think that Boba sent him a postcard.
And
he was like "Screw you, Dick. My name is Boba Fett Montoyo. You killed my father. Prepare to die."
Right. But yeah, there's no way none of them should even know Boba was on Geonosis when that all went down. I don't think.
Right.
Anyways, so what happens next there?
More explosions. And then Mace is like, "Oh, R2-D2 failed. Great job, Anakin. Relying on a droid to do a Jedi's job." But alas, enter 3 lats into atmosphere, and they fly over to the ship. They know where the bridge is, so they head that direction. There's 3 lats that we can see, and there's only one that seems to be like on this rescue mission. Right. I guess the other 2 are just support because the doors and shit are all open, and then the clones on board fire their grappling guns to the outside of the bridge, and they attach those to the lat, and then Plos like Ahsoka use the Force to stabilize the ship, which I guess they do, and then some clones jump in, walk like 10 feet, and pick up a 2x4, and then the Jedi can crawl out like everything's good. Like,
yep.
2 clones are able to pick up like 1 piece of metal. They can't be that fucking heavy. So these Jedi should have been able to get out, especially when one of them's fucking rolling around.
Yep, I agree. The timing was close, but the rescue was very easy.
Yes. So everybody gets back on the lat. Ahsoka pulls out her lightsaber and cuts all these fucking lines which were holding the 2 together, and of course at that point the bridge plummets to its own demise and the demise of anyone that could have been inside if they would have been just a little bit later. So we cut to somewhere else, presumably still on Vancor.
Yeah.
Anakin and Mace are on stretchers, so I guess they're being moved from one lat to another lat. I'm not really sure because there's not like another ship there for them to put on.
Right.
So, but anyway, Ahsoka's talking to Anakin. She's like, "Oh, you got some pretty serious burns, but nothing that a night in the back of the tank won't fix," and like gives him a jovial punch, which I thought was fucking hilarious because Anakin's like, "Ow." She's like, "Oh yeah, you're hurt. My bad." Everybody needs to thank R2 at this point, and Mace is like, "Hey droid, come over here." And I think his comment is like, not even like, "Thanks for saving my ass," but like, I see why Anakin likes you.
Yep.
Well
That's
done
the praise
earning,
you get.
Yeah, well done earning his affection. You did well. And Anakin's like, I don't even get that much praise, man. So the last word of human dialogue is just Mace Windu going, and then R2-D2 beeps a little bit, and Anakin and Mace are loaded on a lat, and that's it, right?
Yep. Cue loud music.
Cue loud music.
Get on out of that. Yeah.
So Bosk is voiced by D. Bradley Baker.
Very nice.
And Castus is voiced by a Robin Atkin Downs. I did not
Very
look
nice.
up Robin Atkin Downs, so I have no
got
further
for you there.
information on that.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one? You want to hop straight into thumbs up, thumbs down? Do you
Let's
got
do
any
it.
comments about this episode in general?
The only question I have before thumbs up, thumbs down is, do Jedi starfighters need to be specifically paired to their hyperspeed rings?
No.
Okay.
They're interchangeable.
Right. So then the fact that Boba had to choose which one to shoot then is even more odd to me. Like, there's this tension of, like, he can only shoot one, but will he shoot the right one? And then
So
as soon as...
why do you think it's more odd then?
Because there's two of them there, and you know you can only shoot one, so then you know the Jedi Starfighter is going to hop into one of them. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, maybe
Like,
he doesn't know then.
There's a fork in the road. Like, there's a tree in the middle of the road, but it's just a tree. But there's, like, a bike blocking your way on the right path. I guess I need to turn the fuck around then. Like, no, just go on the left, go left around the fucking tree. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so then that's what, like, they're building this tension of, like, shoot the right one, Boba, shoot the right one. But then it doesn't matter which one you shoot, because then R2's just going to get in the other one. Right? Like, that's why I didn't understand the tension of that scene.
Fair enough. Even so, on the opposite, if they did have to pair up, if they could only pair up to, like, one of them, they're fucking color coded.
Right. That was the other thing that was confusing me too, is that one is yellow and one is, like, the more sandy color with, like, green accents, which matches Mace Windu's Jedi Starfighter. So then it was more weird to me that Boba chooses the one that is not the same color as the ship that they're trying to stop from leaving.
Yeah, you would think that he would have went with the color match, and then R2 would have definitely
Gone
just maneuvered
into
to the other one.
Right. Like,
very good point.
Yeah, so that moment very much so confused the shit out of me as to the rules and why.
How do you feel about the Gundarks here?
I didn't understand the reasoning of the Gundarks going after the droids. Like, do they think they're food? Like, from a biological standpoint?
Good point. Maybe they just hate anything. Maybe they have an aversion to electricity, and so when they feel electricity in their presence, they have to destroy it to make themselves feel better.
But it's like, it's just weird because they're following these two droids around, right, in, like, a predator-like fashion. But I don't understand what the drive is behind that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Was it stated in the last episode that they were in orbit or some shit around Vancor?
I feel like that was brought up at some point.
So,
or like they were going to crash into Vancor, is at least when we got that notification.
So I guess because they were on Vancor that we had to have Gundarks, because Gundarks only live on Vancor. Like, there was an episode.
But are there no other animals on Vancor?
Probably not. I mean, every planet's got one thing, and
Just
this
one
one's got Gundarks.
I guess.
And caves, because I remember Anakin and Obi-Wan were stuck in a cave with a Gundark.
Yep.
So I brought up that Castus name drops the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
I skipped over the fact that Aura Singh went. So once R2 does connect to the hyperspace ring and take off back to the Jedi Temple, right? Either Castus or Bosk is like, oh, Mace Windu is going to bring an army back and he's going to fucking kill us. And Aura's like, I don't know about that. Like, they don't seek revenge like we do.
Mm-hmm.
So don't count on it. But she says, but I do know a way that I can bait him to come back. And she looks at the 3 hostages and she's like, I'm going to use you in next week's episode. And I was like, really, do we have to do that? Do we have to, like, call out the fact that there was an episode before this and there is going to be an episode after this?
Yeah. Even
if it's not next week, like, this is... She might as well have looked at the camera and been like, this is part 2 of 3.
Right. Like, well, like, I agree. It wasn't subtle. It was definitely like, we're seeding information for you guys. Pay attention to this. You know.
Yeah.
So,
to be continued.
Right. Yeah, like, open thread, guys. Open thread.
How did you like our Boba's band of bounty hunter? I'm trying to think of another word that starts with B to finish that out, but I got nothing.
What do I think
Boba's
of them?
buddies.
Just in general?
Yeah.
They're fine. They're there. They don't... I don't know. Like, Castus, I honestly don't remember existing at all. Ever. Like...
I feel like Castus should have stayed at the ship and Bosk should have went.
Right. That's, you know... And to be fair, Bosk I only really know because he's Bosk, you know? But, like... Otherwise, like, Bosk doesn't really leave an impression with me based on just this episode either.
Nope.
You know? Like, Aura might the most, but it's more of just like a... Like, where'd that head antenna come from? But even as, like, a person, too, like, she's, as of right now, just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I agree with you.
She's definitely the most active of the group, but really, like, Bosk and Castus could have been nameless, interchangeable bounty hunters, and I don't think anything would have changed.
I do like Aura.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of being like a mentor to Boba Fett. Like, that's nice. And throwing Bosk in with her, that's cool too.
Right.
Castus, I got nothing.
Yeah. He's just there.
I know some background information on him, but as far as why he's included in Boba Fett's band of merry brothers, I'm not really sure. He is from Klaatuine.
Okay.
Which makes him a Klaatuinian, which is the most awkward name for a species. Not too much info about them, and oddly enough, I think it was the Klaatuinians or Klaatuine itself that I was looking into, and the Legends page is smaller than the canon page, which is weird. I don't know. It's bizarre. I agree with you that for the most part, you know, interchangeable bounty hunter is whatever.
Right. Yeah.
The biggest thing that stuck out to me in this episode is the, hey, there was a part before, and hey, there's going to be a part after.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Those are my main notes for sure.
I don't really have any more discussion points, so let's hop over to death or no death on this one. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I was thinking like something with like Roman gladiatorial, like thumbs up, you don't kill him. Thumbs down, you do kill him. Beheading, no beheading. I don't know.
That's still.
They wanted to behead the Jedi.
How does that fit in this one? I don't follow you on that one.
They wanted to behead the Jedi, so they were giving them a thumbs down. So you tell me what you give this episode.
I still don't follow that, but sure. This episode was fine. Not great or anything, but I'll still give this a thumbs up. I think it was put together decently. There are still weird issues with it, but on the whole, I think there wasn't anything that was like offensively bad or anything per se. And again, like not great, but I think there's enough. I think R2 as a personality gets a good front and center here, and that much I can appreciate. But yeah,
I can appreciate the retelling of Space Lassie.
Right.
That's all this episode is.
Basically, yeah. That's a good way to put it. I didn't think of it in those terms.
And it's nice to turn Lassie into the dog that saved Timmy from the well. Castus, like, borderline. If there was any more Castus, like, he could have ruined this for me.
Right.
I will give this one a thumbs up, and it's not without trying to, because there's just the shell here is good, the bones are good, but the meat on the bones isn't fresh.
Right.
So take Castus out of this thing, like rework a couple of things, let R2-D2 be his Lassie hero. I think they could have played up this R2 R8 thing a little more that I was seeing. You didn't see it, but I saw it.
Nope, didn't see it at all.
I think they could have played up that competition a little bit more, and they could have had some banter between Anakin and Mace, like, as they're stuck there, like, because, like, Mace doesn't believe in R2, and Anakin's like, no, R2's gonna save us, and Mace is like, oh, my fucking droid R8 is the best fucking droid ever, and of course he just gets ripped to shreds by a Gundark. I think the Gundarks are completely inconsequential.
Yes, yeah.
They, like, have to be here because that's what Fangor's thing is the fucking Gundark planet. And I also think that having R2 defeat, like, 3 of these fucking Gundarks, like, kind of weakens that, hey, you look strong enough to pull the ears off a Gundark. Like, R2-D2's rolling around and he fucking took on 3 of them and won.
Yeah.
So there's some goofy shit, but really, like, the bones of it are there.
Yeah, I think you and I are of the same mind. Like, from my standpoint, if a show's in the middle, it's more difficult to kind of go up or down. But in all fairness, there's nothing about this that is outright bad per se.
There's nothing that tips me down. There's a couple things that tip me up.
Right.
If we had a 3-point scale, this would be a 2.
Yeah.
But we don't. So that's, I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Not gonna.
But, like, now that you bring it up, like, it is. I didn't think of the fact that we had Mace and Anakin together, and it would have been an opportunity to let them interact more than we usually see them interacting.
Instead and it kind of just laying there,
right? And it kind of makes me think of Family Guy did this really well with the episode where Brian and Stewie get locked in a bank vault, which in of itself is based off of an episode of All in the Family where Archie Bunker gets locked in a basement. So, like, I really like that idea of having an episode where it's like, this is just Archie Bunker and none of the family. It's just Archie Bunker dealing with some random shit, and it's just like Stewie and Brian just dealing with their own shit too. Yeah, like, now I'm just like thinking of like the awesome opportunity we would have had for that. But anyways, yep, it's okay. It's a fine episode.
Right. Like I said, the bones are there.
Right. So that's all I got.
Unfortunately, sometimes the idea behind these episodes is better than the execution of the episodes.
Right. Absolutely.
Hey, isn't that what everybody says about the prequels in general?
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
I like the prequels, so I guess that means I have to like this episode.
Just not space C-SPAN, so. So, anyways, you got anything else before we move on?
No, I was gonna look up what if you want to start running through plugs. I'm gonna see what episode we got coming up next week.
So, if you want to email us, you can email us at notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out to us via Twitter at notthenerds, Facebook at nothenerdspodcast. As always, we like to give a shout out to Lindsay at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. She's the one who put together the jingle at the beginning and end of every episode. Also, we always like to thank Kevin Warren, who put together the podcast cover art. You can reach out to him at TheyCallMeKdub on Twitter. We are available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, also YouTube audio only, most part. So just give us a review, thumbs up, subscribe, please, wherever you're listening to us on. Yep. What do we got coming up next week, Kevin?
Next week is an episode called Lethal Trackdown, and that is season 2, episode 22. So that is a season finale. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. I wonder if we're going to see Aura Singh and her group of buddies, and I hope that if so, that Castus is not there, and we can just deal with the 3 clones that they have, 2 clones and another guy. I don't know, whoever they are. But anyway,
Admiral, yeah. Anyways,
next week, Lethal Trackdown, and until then,
awesome.
I've been Kevin Hord.
Lorenzo Phan over here.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.